Tonight on Joy News Prime, scientists urge government to tighten testing regime at the Kotoka International Airport after the highly contagious Indian strain of coronavirus was detected among travelers arriving in the country.
We have to go back to being serious about, the protocols, and also tightening the screening at the airport and the mandatory quarantine.
Fix the Country campaigners want the Attorney General removed from a case seeking to restrain them from embarking on a street protest to demand better living conditions for Ghanaians.
Friday will be the ruling on the preliminary objections before they will have to make their cases. Okay. Now, until then, we don't know. But for us, we're hoping that our legal team have made a good objections, and then that will be taken in good faith by the judge, and then the ruling will be made in that regard.
President Akufo-Addo promises establishment of a permanent army presence in the Upper East region to ward off threats from terrorists along the border there.
A permanent barracks is going to be established here in this area to be able to address the issue of terrorism.
Opposition NDC demands withdrawal of petition submitted to the General Legal Counsel by the Chief Justice over comments by former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine set to disparage the judiciary.
We therefore join all well-meaning Ghanaians to demand that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against Dr. Ayine.
In business, World Bank hints of preparedness to advance additional financial support to Ghana for COVID-19 vaccine purchase after approving $430 million for government.
Will not directly, as the bank, either side, invest in vaccine production, but our IFC, private sector team, is looking at the possibility of supporting this activity.
And three siblings who filmed themselves showing off their guns in a video that went viral on social media say they regret their actions but maintain they are not criminals.
We don't blame anybody because we did a video, so we don't have anything to blame anybody, but rather we blame ourselves for doing such video. We truly regret.
My name is Israel, and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our Fana for Studios at Kokomlimli here in Accra, your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. The Fix the Country campaigners have described as unlawful a case brought against them by the Attorney General at an Accra High Court seeking to restrain them from embarking on a street protest. The campaigners say only a police officer can make a request under the Public Order Act to restrain protesters from hitting the streets and want the Attorney General to stay off the case. The campaigners have been mobilizing support to demand better living conditions, but have so far been frustrated in their efforts to take this onto the streets. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
A member of the legal team for the campaigners, Julius Asinio, urged the court to dismiss the case. He explained that it cannot hear a matter bordering on the Public Order Act filed in the name of the Republic instead of a police officer. He also raised a second objection regarding the signatory to the court documents. He stated that they are signed by one Thomas Safu, who does not indicate whether he is an attorney at the office of the AG or with the police service. He concluded by stating that the current case is of a civil nature and the Attorney General's office has not been named as a defendant. Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame described the application as completely misconceived and a misunderstanding of the fundamental laws regarding this application. He explained that every step within the context of the Public Order Act is a criminal matter. He continued that under Article 88 of the Constitution, the Attorney General is responsible for the initiation of all civil and criminal matters involving the Republic. He further rebutted a claim that the police service is a separate legal entity. He responded that it's a pure public institution and its office is empowered by law to act on its behalf. Justice Ruby Aite adjourned the matter to June 25 to deliver her ruling. The AG then notified the court of a Facebook post by one Bakavokes calling him a puppet. He indicated that he may initiate appropriate contempt proceedings against such commentary should it continue. Justice Aite urged the AG to ignore such comments. Mr. Dami responded that such comments by persons who are part of the case is not appropriate. The said Facebook handle has since posted yet again, this time explaining that the Public Order Act does not entitle the AG to use the police as puppets. The conveners of the protest are meanwhile hopeful of a favorable court decision on Friday.
On Friday will be the ruling on the preliminary objections before they will have to make their cases. Okay. Now, until then, we don't know. But for us, we're hoping that our legal team have made a good objections, and then that will be taken in good faith by the judge, and then the ruling will be made in that regard.
I suffer as much as the normal Ghanaian suffers, you know, and it's something that's been within my heart. It's sad. It's sad to see Ghanaians not being able to survive. People are living, but they're not able to survive, and it's something that we need to honestly speak about. You know, when we talk about the lack of employment, when we talk about, you know, galamsey, these are things that are happening in the country that I live in, you know, and people have turned a blind eye to it, and I refuse to turn a blind eye to it. I care about Ghanaians. I have family in Ghana. I mean, I could easily be living in New York and living my best life, but I chose to speak for people whose voices cannot be heard.
And so on June 25, should the court uphold the objections raised by the campaigners, it will terminate this particular application that they are restrained from pouring onto the street to protest. On the other hand, should the court dismiss it, it paves way for the substantive legal arguments on whether or not they can go ahead to stage a street protest in the midst of COVID-19 and the imposition of the Restrictions Act, which is still in force. Reporting for Joy News from the Law Courts Complex, my name is Joseph Akable.
President Akufo-Addo has promised that a permanent army barracks will be set up in the Upper East region to help deal with terrorist threats in border communities there. Addressing the paramount chief of the Bawku traditional area in the region where he currently is on a one-day visit, the president said the government was well aware of the threats from terrorists from neighboring Burkina Faso and that the security forces are being beefed up to be able to deal with such threats.
Whenever you are aware of the measures that the government is taking to strengthen the security agencies here and protect us from terrorist attacks emanating from Burkina Faso. And I'm happy to inform you that a permanent barracks is going to be established here in this area to be able to address the issue of terrorism.
Upper East Region correspondent Albert Sori has been covering the president's tour and joins us with the very latest. Now, Albert, what else has the president been up to?
Israel. So the president visited the paramount chief of the Bawku traditional area, Abugarago Azoka II. That is where he made the speech that you just played. He mainly visited the Bawku areas. One of the things he's basically been doing is to pay courtesy calls on the chiefs. So he visited the Bawku Naba. He also visited the leadership of the Mampusi ethnic group in the Bawku municipality. He came down to Binduri in the Binduri constituency, where he was supposed to he was expected to hold a Deba of the people. Actually, the people had gathered in anticipation of his visit. Remember that the Binduri constituency is the only seat that the NPP won in the last election in this region. So the people were hoping to get to meet the president, but that Deba was called off, and he basically called off the rest of the Debes that people were anticipating he was going to hold. Were later told that it was due to the COVID-19 protocol. So he basically visited the chiefs in their palaces. He visited the Binduri chief, and then he came to the Bolgatanga East constituency, where he also commissioned a new office complex there. The Bolga East district is one of the new ones that were recently created, and they have a new office building for the district assembly. So the president commissioned that. There too, the people had gathered in anticipation that he was going to address them, but he didn't do it because of, again, the COVID protocols. So that's how he wrapped up the trip and came back to the Regional Coordinating Council here in Bolgatanga. We understand he's meeting party executives and party people, and then he will proceed to the Northeast region tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Albert. Sorry, with that update on the president's tour of the Upper East region. Now, the highly contagious COVID-19 variant responsible for the devastation in India has been identified in Ghana. Head of the West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens, Professor Gordon Awandare, says the Indian Delta strain was detected as part of WACBIP's genome sequencing work on positive COVID-19 travelers who came into Ghana through the Kotka International Airport. The strain is currently ravaging India and dominating UK infections and has been described by virologists as the most contagious yet. Professor Awandare is advising governments to tighten the testing regime at the airport to minimize the chances of the strain making it into the country, especially as analysts are predicting a third wave of COVID-19 is imminent.
Overall, we have about 45 or 46 different variants that are in circulation, but these 5 are the ones that are of concern. And like Michael mentioned, the trend shows that all these normally come from travelers. So if you look at the sequences in travelers and then the sequences in the local transmission, it mirrors the distribution of the variant. So if you have more travelers coming in with a particular variant, then it reflects in the local population. So now that the Delta is taking over, in fact, it's taking over, the UK. Is now the most prevalent in the UK, and it's taking over most of East Africa. So it's just a matter of time before it'll come here in large quantities. So we have a few here, but it's going to increase. If we don't take the steps that Michael talked about, we have to go back to being serious about, the protocols, and also tightening the screening at the airport and the mandatory quarantine. These are very important to limit the influx of the new variants. And if we're able to do that, we may be able to avoid a third wave.
He says the discovery should inform the type of COVID-19 vaccine government buys for its inoculation program in the country, as the AstraZeneca or Sputnik V vaccines have been found not to be that effective against the Delta strain.
Looking at the right vaccines, we all this while we've been, fixed on, AstraZeneca and Sputnik V. We have to start shifting towards looking for more of Pfizer and others, which have a better chance of protecting against these variants, because the future is these aggressive variants. That's where we are going. The UK strain would probably recede soon. It will be replaced by some of these new variants.
With the nature of the virus as we know it, there are new variants coming out every few months. So does that mean that we are going to have to vaccinate ourselves again when, there's another strain in the system that is different from what Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer can fight?
Yes, that's the reality, that this may be similar to the flu, that every year or every few years we have to adjust the vaccine to suit the prevailing strains. And so that's why local manufacturing and vaccine development is important. We need to start making serious progress.
Now, joining us to have further conversations on this particular story is Dr. Michael Owusu, who is a virologist with the KCCR, as well as the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekwem. But I'll start with you, Dr. Michael Owusu. I'm sure you're one of those who's also very concerned about the detection of the strain from India. Why should we be so worried about it?
Yeah, good evening to you and good evening to all your listeners. So you know very well that every wave is accounted for by particular variants. So in the very first wave, we had the very wild type of SARS-CoV-2, which originated from China. And this was replaced by the UK strain, which we call the Alpha strain. So in Ghana, currently we have we have about 294 of the alpha strains detected within the genome bank. And then this, in addition, we had a South African strain, which is about 12 of them in the system. So these two viruses contributed to the second wave, which is what caused a lot of problem for us. So detecting the two Delta strains somewhere in April of this year is a concern, because the third wave is being happening across the world is controlled by this particular virus. It has high transmissibility, and then is able to cause severe disease and high level of mortality. The whole of Africa, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, if you look within the genome bank, almost 90% of their sequences is contributed by this very Delta strain. So to find two of these Delta strains in Ghana, especially in Accra, should already tell us that it's possible some might have entered into the country with this strain, and if we don't manage things well, things may get out of hand, and we are likely to enter into a third wave. And not only the Delta strain, but there's also the Kappa strain, which is a sister strain of the Indian strain. We have about 5 of them detected in Ghana. And even for the Nigerian, there are about 38 of them in circulation. So what happens is that if they are moving around, people are moving around with this, and you don't strengthen and manage your protocols well, you only create an environment where they thrive. And once they thrive, they are likely to push your country to a possible wave, which could be a third wave. And this is the worry of some of us.
All right, Dr. Michael Owusu, should we still be worried knowing that these positive cases were actually picked up at the airport?
Yeah, if you look within the database, this is a 46-year-old man, a 23-year-old man, and they were quarantined, and this was detected in them. But you have to understand, in the whole of Africa, there are about 2.2 million sequences which are known. There's only about 200,000 of them that are known in Africa. Within Ghana, for instance, out of over 50,000 persons we have recorded, it's just about 698 of them that we have been able to sequence. So if you predict in terms of probability, if you are seeing 2 out of those quarantined, it should just tell you that you have some which could have escaped. And you may not have the capacity to sequence all the strains in Ghana to make a better prediction like what is being done in the UK.
All right.
So if you are trying to understand the dynamics of the virus, then seeing 1 of them or 2 of them should already tell you that it is possible some are in the system, and it is only a matter of time, and the level of community circulation or transmission will build up until the hospital begin to experience the pressure.
But we must also acknowledge that these cases that we're talking of were picked up at the airport. So unless we don't have, or our screening regime at the airport is not effective enough, then we're going to have these cases coming into the country.
Of course. What happens is that if you are able to put in enough systems at the airports, you are able to slow transmission, which is what we are doing well. But then if it's a probability, it's about 99% chance that you prevent people from entering to the country with the virus. But then if people within the country, we don't behave and manage well, and even 1 of them escapes into the country, you have an environment where this can move quickly. Remember that this is more than 70% highly transmissible. So if even one person carries it around, the chances that the person may transmit is very, very high. That is why if you see it at the airport, it is a danger sign. It's a signal that you likely have people within the system, and you have to mount some surveillance and ensure that you track these things down, and then you don't allow it to blow out of proportion.
All right. Thankfully, we have also on the line Dr. Franklin Sedubekwe, who is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, and he's going to be telling us exactly what the Ghana Health Service is doing about this. Thank you very much, Dr. Franklin Sedubekwe. So you've heard Dr. Michael Owusu, and you've also heard Professor Awandare, and they're concerned about the fact that once we've picked up the Indian strain at the airport, there is the possibility that these cases may have sneaked into the country and could go and start local transmission. What exactly is the Ghana Health Service doing about it? Are you as concerned as the scientists are?
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners and viewers. I think for a service, we are excited about the discussions going on, because if you look at the data, I mean, for the past like a month or two, the figures have been quite low. In that case, people think that the disease is gone. So you realize that people who are adhering to protocols are no more adhering to protocols. You see, whether it's a Indian variant, whether it's the Wuhan variant, whether it's the UK, the non-pharmaceutical interventions do not change. You still need to wear your mask at all times. You need to maintain social distancing. You need to be sure that you are washing your hands with soap and running water. So that one does not depend on the kind of strain. And I think that for us as a service, so far as we don't have the numbers for vaccination, that should stay. So that's why we are very much interested in this discussion going on. So it's not about whether it's Delta or whatever. You still need to be adhering to the protocols, which for us is very important. One thing you need to stress is that I think you try to put across that what has been detected are viruses that were detected at the airport. And let me say, Ghana is one of the few countries that has such a system that exists at the airports, so that now we're able to detect the cases. There could be few of viruses or cases that could have been incubating that would have entered the country. But we followed up a few of the negatives and then were tested, and they were found to be negative. So for now, we don't have the evidence that we have the Indian variant in the country. But I think that for us, what we want to stress is that so far as we are concerned, the non-pharmaceutical interventions will not change. And we like this conversation that Ghanaians should not be deceived by the dashboard to know that the threat of the third wave is there. We don't have the third wave, but we still need to be sticking to the protocols.
What is the dashboard telling you right now?
Yes, if you look at the dashboard, I mean, since like the middle of February to now, we've had a decline, and you can see that you have even plateaued. But I would say that for the past like a week, you can see that there's a marginal increase in figures. So
where could this marginal increase in figures be coming from?
Yes, so fine. If you look at Accra is still the epicenter of the outbreak. We've gotten a few surges in Volta region, Eastern region, and I think Ashanti. And then we had just a little spike in Greater Accra. So it is not a generalized situation as we observed in the early part of the year. For now, we keep on looking at the data. And as I said, if we look at the data from the airport, about a month ago, we were having reasonable number of cases coming from Turkey, India, and United Arab Emirates. For now, we don't have such cases coming. So the few cases that we are getting are actually from the ECOWAS region. So we are still looking at it. We have not demonstrated the presence of the Indian variant in an ECOWAS citizen. But we still want to go back to the fact that whether it's a variant from India or UK or China, let's abide by the protocols.
All right. And now, one other issue that Professor Awandare has raised has to do with our fixation on getting vaccines from the AstraZeneca or Sputnik vaccines. But he's saying that we probably should be looking at other vaccines that are more effective against the new strains that are emerging.
No, I think that we are not fixated on the use of AstraZeneca. I see there are a reasonable number of vaccines across, but you look at effectiveness of the vaccine, ease of use. So if you look at our current cold chain infrastructure, the easier way to use is the one that conforms to our existing system, that is a temperature of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. I mean, that one was the reason why it guided us to opt for AstraZeneca. But for now, let me say that we have a reasonable number of infrastructure to take care of the Pfizer and the Moderna. But for now, we have not, FDA has not approved and registered Pfizer and Moderna, but it's still being looked at. And let me tell you that just about a week or two ago, we've actually registered Johnson & Johnson. We need to appreciate the fact that there's an obvious global shortage of vaccines, which is the issue. So it's not that Ghana is stuck to AstraZeneca. We are trying to cover those who took the first dose of AstraZeneca, but that does not mean that Ghana is fixated on AstraZeneca. That's not the issue. When we get Johnson & Johnson, we use it. When we get Sputnik V, we use it.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Franklin Isiodubekwe. I'd like to come to you, Dr. Michael Owusu of KCCR. Now, you've heard Dr. Franklin Isiodubekwe. He says that, well, they are doing some further work apart from the screening at the airport. They are continuing to monitor some of the negatives. And so far, there's no cause for concern.
Well, I think one of the key points he emphasized is that the non-pharmaceutical intervention work very well, independent of whichever variants come to the country. And I think that this is what the public should know. I mean, for some time now, there seems to be some laxity. Many people don't seem to pay particular attention to these COVID protocols. And I mean, if you look at virus behavior, no country is foolproof. You can put in the best of systems, but what you do is that you are able to limit importation of the virus and slow transmission. But eventually, if the people within the country do not behave well, even if one or two enters the country, there will be that conducive environment for the virus to thrive and cause high levels of transmission and cause disease and severity. So the emphasis on the use of masks and social distancing or physical distancing and the use of alcohol, like what we used to do before, is something that we must be very much aware about.
All right.
For us to hear that even two of these have been detected at the airport should make people, sit up and begin to do what they're supposed, not to wait for it to become a full-blown third wave, for us to now begin to knock our heads and to say, what did we do wrong? I think it's a caution for all of us to ensure that we do what is right.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Michael Owusu, who is a virologist with KCCR. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a riverslide in the bulletin. Opposition NDC demands withdrawal of petition submitted to the General Legal Counsel by the Chief Justice over comment by former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine set to disparage the judiciary.
We therefore join all well-meaning Ghanaians to demand that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against Dr. Ayine.
And then in business, World Bank hints of preparedness to advance additional financial support to Ghana for COVID-19 vaccine purchase after approving $430 million for government.
Will not directly, as the bank either side, invest in vaccine production, but our IFC private sector team is looking at the possibility of supporting this activity.
Stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit.
And time now for business here on Joy News Prime. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. In this edition, the World Bank has indicated its preparedness to advance additional financial support to Ghana for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines. The bank last year approved some $430 million in loans for the purchase of the vaccines. Country Director Pierre Laporte tells Joy Business this will be done based on request from government.
The World Bank is very supportive of the idea. However, we will not directly, as the bank either side, invest in vaccine production, but our IFC private sector team is looking at the possibility of supporting this activity. But from our perspective, we think it's a very good initiative, because often, as you know, we cannot give the care because of the availability. We just saw in India now what happened. AstraZeneca is not available. So to the extent that Africa can manufacture its own vaccine, this will help us deal and support our people in a more timely manner. Yeah.
What measures have you put in place with respect to what you've approved, the 430, to ensure that there is value for money and these monies are used for the purpose of which it was disbursed?
Okay. First and foremost, each time we approve a project, we have a procurement plan attached to that for the whole value. And that plan describes each and every activity that's been costed approximately, which is the basis for either direct procurement or a public tender. So to the extent that this activity are well listed beforehand, government has to adhere to that. If it has to make changes, it has to approve by us through a restructuring.
Pierre Laporte there of the World Bank, speaking to my colleague George Buafe. The Executive Director of the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, says the reason for the postponement of the implementation of the single currency ECO goes beyond COVID-19 impact. Member states of the Economic Community of West Africa, ECOWAS, have fixed 2027 for full implementation of the single currency. The ECOWAS Commission President cited in his speech the impact of COVID-19 on the economies of the various member states as reason. But in an interview on Business Live, Dr. Amoah said both the English and French factions of the member state are at entrenched positions, hence the delay.
In addition to COVID, you realize that the French bloc in West Africa last year indicated that they wanted to replace the CFA franc with ECO without buying into the agreement of the West African group. So right from last year, there has been this friction between the English bloc in the ECO discussion and the French bloc. The English bloc is being led by Nigeria. And for Nigeria, the view is that we need to make sure that the convergence criteria are met. But for the French bloc, they are in a hurry. Their behavior is more of in a hurry to replace the French franc with the ECO. So they are talking about replacing the French franc with ECO, whilst the English bloc is talking about meeting the criteria and then making sure that it becomes a currency that all West African countries can work with. So this, in addition to COVID, is what has made it a bit difficult for West African countries to adopt the ECO now.
And we'll be talking more about ECO in the coming days. Now, the Ghana Mine Workers Union is embarking on a week-long aggressive campaign on what it calls the glaring infrastructural deficit in mining communities. According to the union, this has become necessary to highlight some key challenges bedeviling the sector as well as within communities that the mining companies operate from. General Secretary of the Mine Workers Union, Abdul Mumin Bana, spoke at the official launch of the union's annual week celebration slated for June every year.
Prior to this reprisal against colonial domination and exploitation, miners in Ghana worked under extreme poor conditions. They worked for very long hours and were paid pittance, no social protection cover of any sort, and in some instances, inferior occupational injuries and diseases. And also fatalities were a rampant feature of the work environment. Thanks to our forebearers, 77 years on, the narrative about the mine worker in Ghana and the mining industry in general has improved quite considerably, even though there's still a lot to be done. We will be paying courtesy calls on key stakeholders, particularly in our mining communities. And so there will be opportunity for us to pay courtesy calls on our traditional leaders and other leaders across these mining communities. The Ghana Mine Workers Union would also campaign on the glaring infrastructural deficit in these mining communities. After over 100 years of mining, it is abundantly clear that mining communities continue to register the worst forms of outcomes that we all expect that should not take place at all at these locations.
And this year's edition of the Mine Workers Annual Week celebration is on the theme Integrating Labor and Community Interest for Socio-Economic Development. And that's it for Business this hour. I'm back after 8. I'm Gifty Ando-Appiah. Israel Lai is here to continue with the news.
Right, time for Showbiz, and Becky Bex is here. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you. Happy Father's Day again.
Thank you.
How was your Father's Day?
It was great. It was great. My family took me out to lunch.
I sent you Momoto. Did you receive it?
No.
Oh, call me later. But Stonebwoy, and well, let's talk about Stonebwoy first. So Stonebwoy was adjudged the most outstanding father in creative arts at the Ghana Father's Day Awards. He gave a beautiful speech that everybody, has been talking about. We'll play that. Right after, we'll talk about Kwabena.
Greetings to all the dignitaries and my seniors and superiors and honorable people and gathered here this evening. Like you rightly said, I go by the name Stonebwoy. Stone from my maiden name is Stone. It's actually not been easy. I was not really looking forward to this, but I'm grateful for the fact that honorable people like yourself have pointed it out to use me as an example to empower the creative, especially the musicians who are quote unquote said to be non-entities in society, because as beautiful as it looks out there, I know that deep down the heart of most of the corporates and those who run the countries, we mean nothing to them as musicians. We only are people who are going to entertain people for just a limit of time and do all the controversial stuff that we run on social media and all. But I've set myself aside to make sure that irrespective of the thoughts and the intuitions that the world may have about us, coming from the part of the world that we do, it is not that way. So God willing and hearing my prayers, I got married to a medical doctor and changed the status quo as a ghetto youth from Ashaiman, who's willing to change,
my fans are confused now.
Because you see, I know.
And a man said, why Bobby now? When you brought Dave. It's 1 hour boy. Next, I had what I. Oh, come not Chema when you move. Then I had a challenge. Chema, why?
It's true. It's on top of
the game. It's on top of the game. Yeah. Everyone's a macabna. Wow.
I can't skate. Skate.
Plus Kwabena on Ahosepe Extra with Sister Sandy B, a guy, as part of celebrating Father's Day. Let's celebrate Funny Face because he has officially recovered, and he was on Hit FM this morning talking about the road to recovery.
When you got to the psychiatric hospital, when you got there, how did you feel?
I was like a king.
Really?
Being mad with madness, with real mad people, and me, I know I'll return back.
Were you not scared?
No, they come to me and they talk to me, but in the one guy came, he thought he was making sense, and he was telling me, Funny Face. Who are both were me were both and can so be was your that's when I realized my brother.
You had to wrong place.
I damn near 18 check off. But maybe I know is like now when I see Kwade, we can vibe. When I see Kwade now, to God be the glory, I know he's also come through it and he's been like he's doing well.
He's okay.
So we can meaning be bon komo, kwase pe ne beti en wase. And abran koko. Logic.
No, Funny Face, are you very okay?
I'm okay.
I agree you've disappointed a lot of us.
Oh,
a lot of your fans.
No, what I was going through, nobody understands.
Yes, I understand. That's what I'm saying.
And you see, you. If I lost them, they were not real fans.
That was Funny Face.
But he was mentioning some names like he has classmates.
Yeah, so they are okay. He also mentioned something about Castro being alive, and he actually spoke to Castro. So. Let's take that one if you have it.
It's been 7 years.
Castro is not dead.
I'm not saying he's dead.
He will come back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you can declare him dead or what, but he still come back. It's a legendary thing. I spoke to him in my dreams.
This is Hits.
Well,
okay,
I'm expecting
I'm not
that.
sure.
Well, I am looking forward.
Is he supposed to go back?
No, he's back now. He's not supposed to go back anyway.
Okay.
Yes, so...
It's a little...
weird.
Yeah.
No, he's okay.
All right, thank you very much, Becky, for bringing us showbiz. There's more news on the Joy News channel. Stay tuned in. The opposition NDC is asking the Chief Justice to withdraw his petition to the General Legal Council over supposed disparaging comments of the judiciary made by Bolga East MP Dominic Ayine. The petition has to do with comments made by the former Deputy Attorney General during a CDD Ghana discussion on presidential election petitions. Addressing a news conference in Accra Monday, General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia said the comments attributed to the MP are criticisms that will assist the judiciary to straighten its ways and improve its performance. Mr. Asiedu Nketia served notice the NDC will continue to criticize the Apex Court over its handling of the 2020 election petition. There's more in this report.
Dr. Ayine, who was part of the legal team of former President Mahama during the 2020 election petition, is said to have questioned the independence of the judiciary due to the manner the Supreme Court adjudicated the election petition. This was during a forum on presidential election petitions and their impact on Africa's democracy. For the NDC General Secretary, the comments by Dr. Ayine were honest, well-reasoned and well-researched.
He stayed within the bounds of professionalism. He was neither scurrilous nor scandalous. For him to be accused by the Chief Justice of disparaging Ghana's judiciary over these tempered and justified comments is not only bizarre and unfortunate, but speaks volumes about the Chief Justice himself. Our Constitution and laws protect the integrity and independence of the judiciary and not the sensibilities of judges. Judicial vanity is a threat to justice and must not be countenanced in any democracy. We therefore join all well-meaning Ghanaians to demand that the Chief Justice withdraws his petition against Dr. Ayine forthwith. We further serve notice that as a political party, we are keenly following events and shall resist any judicial tyranny with all our might.
He also questioned why some lawyers affiliated with the NPP are yet to be invited to the General Legal Council for similar comments.
After the 2013 election petition verdict was delivered by the Supreme Court, lawyer Sam Okujeto, at a symposium organized by the Dankwa Institute, took some of the justices of the Supreme Court to the cleaners and gave his own interpretation of the judgment, contrary to what the court had determined. Also recently, when the High Court Human Rights Division presided by Justice Gifty Ajay Ado ruled against the General Legal Council in an application brought by lawyer Francis Sosu, lawyer Sam Okujeto once again went to town, attacking and questioning the capacity of the judge who quashed the decisions of the General Legal Council. Justice Kwesi Aninyebua.
Mr. Asiedu assured that the NDC will not relent in its criticisms of the judiciary in spite of what he calls judicial tyranny against lawyers perceived to speak for the party.
We have chosen the side of pointing out what is wrong so that we have opportunity to correct it. We cannot keep quiet over something that we consider to be wrong about any state institution.
Now, 3 siblings from the Boise suburb of Gausu who were seen in a video that went viral on social media showing off guns have expressed regret for their action. The 3 siblings say they handed themselves over to the police following the public backlash to the video, but insist they are not criminals. One of them, Apostle Alfred Dakura, currently on bail, has been speaking with Ohiming Teria of our security desk on how they acquired the guns. He says they're yet to be charged.
The video recording shows the siblings
brazenly displaying pistols and a pump-action gun. Apostle Alfred Dakura, Richard Suleiman and Emmanuel Dakura, aged 43, 28 and 26 respectively, reported themselves to police after heavy public condemnation. Though police are yet to receive any public complaints against the three, one of them has since been granted bail. In his first ever media interview after the arrest, Apostle Alfred Dakura, head pastor of Obuasi-based God's Time Prayer Ministry, says he and his brothers are already reeling under the criminal tag imposed on them. According to him, the arrest of the siblings has already affected his church's membership.
We don't blame anybody because we ourselves, we did a video, so we don't have anything to blame anybody, but rather we blame ourselves for doing such video. We truly regret. Why? Because we didn't know that such video would come out and bring a lot of issue in the country and also affecting the family. And for that reason, we truly regret for doing such video. Now, the entire family, everybody is crying because we have been tagged that we are armed robbers. And it's a bad family. Even for myself as a pastor, even yesterday I was in church to preach. The congregation, only few people came because a lot of people are saying that the man of God is an armed robber.
Apostle Dakura has also been explaining how he and his brothers got the guns. According to him, he only used his licensed pump-action gun at the funeral of his late grandmother in performance of traditional Dagati rites. His brothers, together with other residents of Tapo in the Nadoli Kalio district of the Upper West region, seized the pistols without magazines from people who wanted to take over a Galamsey site in that community.
The pump action gun is my own gun, it's my registered gun. And then also where I come from in my culture at Dagati, at Wa, during funerals, we do shoot guns and other things for our rituals. So my grandmother died, and as a leader of the family, it's my duty to go there with a gun so that we can use the gun to perform the funeral. So that's the reason why I took the gun from Obuasi. When someone dies, before the family will even start to cry, there have to be a gunshot before we will start to cry.
So where exactly was the video recorded?
It was recorded in Upper West region, Tapo, Nore. The funeral was 26 November 2020.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi reporting.
4 students of the Wa Jamiat Islamic Girls Senior High School have been arrested by the Wa police after they stormed the police station to solidarize with their teachers who were invited and later arrested by the police. 3 teachers of the school were arrested by the police for allegedly assaulting a young man who came to the school and allegedly raped one of the girls. The victim raised salam and he bolted. The suspect was identified the following day by the victim and handed over to the police. Joy News Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam spoke with one of the teachers of the school. All right, so it turns out Rafiq is actually on Zoom, joining us via Zoom now. So Rafiq, tell us more about the story.
Israel, the latest is that the 4 girls of the school were released about an hour ago, according to the Upper West Region's crime officer, Reynold Mantiel. He told me that the 4 girls were not arrested, but they were brought to the police station for complaints. And so the 4 has since been released. The 3 tutors who were also arrested, their statement has been taken and they have also been released on police inquiry bail. And so according to the Upper West Crime Officer, he told me that the police are looking, or they are dealing with 2 issues. One has to do with a suspected sexual assault on one of the girls of the school by a certain guy called Sharon. And so the Sharon guy also reported to the police and then told them that the 3 tutors of the school, when he was arrested, also assaulted him. So they are dealing with 2 issues. One has to do with the alleged rape, another issue of assault.
Thank you very much, Rafiq Salam, with that update. And moving on, but staying with crime, police in the Eastern region have begun looking in circumstances that led to the killing of the mobile money vendor at Okrase near Koforidua in the Kapim North municipality. A team of police officers early Monday visited the scene where the deceased, Solomon Ahin, was gunned down by an unknown assailant. The 36-year-old was walking home with his friend when they were attacked last Saturday at about 11 p.m. The friend, who escaped unhurt in his narration of what transpired, said he fled to seek refuge when he heard the gunshot. 2 backpacks containing cash of more than 8,000 cedis, laptop, several mobile phones and some bank documents were found with the victim after the attack. Executives of the Mobile Money Agents Association, after visiting the crime scene, are asking the police to step up the investigations. Charles Kwesi Ado is the PRO.
Mobile money is one of the prime businesses now, and looking at the way and manner things are going, we want to plead on behalf of the people of the Mobile Money Agent Association of Ghana. The government is taxing us. The government have introduced a new tax policy on our cash out, which is 10%. And for that matter, we've petitioned the Ministry of Communication and that of GRA. And we want to plead with them that the way and manner things are going, if they don't sit down with us and trash issues with regards to the taxes, we want to tell them we are not happy at all. And as you stated earlier, we are here with regards to the issue that happened last Saturday. And Solo is a member of us. He paid his dues and everything, and therefore the need for us to be here to make sure that the needful is done. We will say on authority that we've realized that the Ghana Police and his team, the Regional Police Commander, Crime Officer and the rest, they were all here at the scene this morning. And we want to use this medium to express our profound gratitude to them. But we want proper things to be done, not only because he's deceased. We want the system to work efficiently for those of them who are alive and still working. And therefore, we are calling on all government and other partners to come to our aid and support this business so that we have a prime area to operate.
The Association Secretary Evans Otumfuo tells Joy News the security of mobile money operators should be taken more seriously.
Looking at the growth of mobile money now, with its accompanying security challenges, it is something that we can no more handle it. And we believe that if measures are not really taken very soon, businesses like mobile money and all its related activities will fold up. And when that happens, what it means is that there's going to be so much chaos and inconvenience in the system, since mobile money is directly or indirectly related to every Ghanaian as we speak now. So for security issue, it is something that it is no more going to be an individual kind of fact, but we are expecting that government will really come on board so that we'll all sit down to strike ways that we will be able to fight or put in measures to curtail the rising incidence of robbery attacks on mobile money agents.
For about 5 years now, farmers at Sakote in the Nabdam district of the Upper East region have been losing their farmlands to the invasion of elephants. The elephants often invade the area during the harvest season, destroying farms by consuming their crops or turning the farmlands into ponds where they can cool off. To help avert this problem, this farming season, the Member of Parliament for the Nabdam constituency has collaborated with the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission to organize a one-day forum on human-wildlife conflict management for farmers in the area. Correspondent Abesori has more.
The invasion of elephants here at Sakote in the Nabdam district of the Upper East region has become an annual occurrence for the last 5 years at least. The people of the area believe that these elephants often migrate from neighboring Togo in search of food and water. There is an area between Sakote and Tili in the Boko West district, which is part of the Eastern Wildlife Corridor. But this area has never been known for the existence of elephants. However, For about 5 years now, herds of elephants have been sighted from time to time, often from the onset of the rainy season to the harvesting period. The marauding wild animals cause havoc to farmlands by grazing on the crops and sometimes creating ponds on the farmlands where they drink water and lie in them to cool off. They also push down shea nut trees, and the farmers often look on helplessly from safe distances. Last year's farming season was no exception.
These animals come and destroy maize, rice, sorghum, granules, and our shea nut trees, which are the most economical product we have here. The planting for food and jobs for the past 3 years, we have not enjoyed it. Because when you grow, they will come and chop all. Those species are species government is always against, that we shouldn't hunt them. And as law-abiding citizens, we have never hunted them. But now we are seeing that those species are rather putting us into more problems.
To help avert a similar occurrence this year, the Member of Parliament for the Nabdam constituency, Dr. Mark Ketnawani, in collaboration with the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission, has organized a one-day forum on human-wildlife conflict management for the farmers in the area. Wildlife Division officials educated the farmers on what they should do in order to scare away the elephants anytime they come into their farms. Joseph Binlinla is the Upper East Regional Manager of the Wildlife Division in charge of the Northern Zone.
And so yes, one of the techniques, basic techniques they can do is to maintain their presence on the farm. You know, the elephant, no matter how huge it is, irrespective of how huge it is, it still fears the spirit or the soul of the human being. So you maintain your presence in the farm, the elephant comes close, it takes your scent and it diverts, it moves to another angle.
Watching Video News Prime, we're taking a break. We have more business coming away. Stay tuned in.
And hello there, we're back with business, and here on Joy News Prime, I'm Gifty Ando-Apia. The National Food Buffer Stock Company is calling on government to support in building food reserves to ensure that the country is food sufficient. It believes this will make Ghana a major supplier on the international market. According to Chairman of the Finance Committee, Dr. Emmanuel Sarkodie, this is the way to go to attain food security.
The National Food Buffer Stock Company called on government to prioritize building food reserves. This, it believes, could make up for dollar reserves, as it will make Ghana a major supplier on the international market. Addressing the Minister for Public Enterprises and his entourage on a working visit to the company, NAFCO emphasized that Ghana having food reserves is the way to go to become food sufficient. Dr. Emmanuel Sarkodie is chairman of the Finance Committee of NAFCO.
Just as we hold stocks for petroleum, which is called BOST, it's important that we hold stocks for food as well. And our funding requirements is quite huge. However, it is not unsurmountable, it is seasonal. So our recommendation to government was to have some agricultural bills and bonds that are tradable on the exchange. Instead of holding our reserves in dollars, we can hold some of our reserves in food. So government underwrites these bonds for us, which are tradable things that we can go on the exchange.
Deputy Chief Executive of NAFCO, Kofi Amoako, revealed that his outfit currently holds 2,750 metric tons of grains for the Economic Community of West African States. According to him, this is part of ECOWAS's strategy for food sufficiency in the sub-region.
If there was any food crisis, by the time food relief, that has been the usual practice for food relief to come from donor countries, Europe and the Americas. It takes a couple of months, 2-3 months for the food relief to get here. So ECOWAS, in their wisdom, decided that they were going to hold food reserves within the sub-region, and the European Union helped to fund this project. In our warehouses in the northern region, it's mainly grains, rice, maize, millet and sorghum. We hold about 2,750 metric tons of these grains.
And that's it for business tonight. I'm Gifty Ando-Apia, and I'm handing over to Israel. Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Gifty. But that'll be it for the Bulletin. I'm Israel Lai. Thank you very much for watching. Up next, we're bringing you our Hotline documentary.